Welcome to the Mental Minute Podcast. Today, we're going to be looking at network effects.
Okay.
You know that thing where something gets more valuable the more people use it?
Yeah.
Um, it's a pretty simple idea,
Mm-hmm.
but it has some pretty big implications for how we understand businesses,
Yeah.
technologies,
Mm-hmm.
even social trends.
It's true.
So by the end of this, you're going to be seeing network effects everywhere you look.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those concepts that, like, once you get it, you can't unsee it.
Totally.
It's like understanding gravity for the first time.
Yeah,
You start to see it everywhere in all these unexpected places.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So to start off, can you give us like a clear definition of what a network effect is?
Sure. So, like, in the most basic terms, a network effect happens when a product or a service, becomes more valuable as more people use it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
But are all network effects like created equal?
Ah, that's a good question. Actually, no, it's important to think about the difference between like direct and indirect network effects.
Okay.
So with direct network effects, the value increases directly as more users join the network.
Got
Think of like social media platforms,
Hmm.
right? The more people on the platform, the more connections you can make, the more content there is to see, the more valuable the platform is.
Makes sense.
It's a direct correlation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about indirect network effects though?
Okay, so indirect network effects are a little bit more subtle.
Okay.
The value of a product or service increases, but this time it's because of the growth of other like complementary goods or services.
Okay.
So think about a gaming console.
Yeah.
The more people who buy the console, the more game developers are going to want to make games for it.
Right.
So the value of the console isn't just in the hardware itself,
Uh-huh.
but in the ecosystem of games that pops up around it.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the telephone.
Oh, yeah.
Initially, not many people had them.
Yeah, right.
So their value was pretty limited.
Right.
But as more and more people got phones, their value just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And it kind of perfectly illustrates how like this network effect
Yeah.
can transform something from just like a niche product into an essential tool.
The telephone is like the classic illustration.
Yeah.
For this, it's a perfect example of how a direct network effect can create this like virtuous cycle,
Mm-hmm.
leading to exponential growth and ultimately like creating something we now just consider indispensable.
It makes you wonder if there was like a tipping point
Mm-hmm.
with the telephone.
Yeah.
Like, was
Yeah.
there a moment where it went from
Yeah.
interesting novelty to like must-have item?
Oh, totally.
And this Wikipedia article we have here mentions critical mass and market tipping.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, you're absolutely right to like pick up on that.
yeah.
Critical mass is the point at which a network becomes so valuable
Okay.
that it attracts like widespread adoption. It's that crucial tipping point where the network effect just kicks into high gear.
So reaching critical mass is key.
Yeah.
But does that always mean that like the most popular thing wins?
Often it does.
Okay.
Once a product or service reaches critical mass, it can be insanely difficult for competitors to catch up.
Yeah.
We call this market tipping, where one product or service comes to just dominate the market,
Wow.
sometimes even leading to monopolies.
Right.
Remember VHS and Betamax?
Uh-huh.
VHS was arguably like the worst technology,
Right.
but it reached critical mass first
Yeah.
and ultimately won the market.
So being first isn't always the most important thing.
Right.
It's about reaching that critical mass.
Yeah, exactly.
But are all network effects good?
Hmm.
The article also talks about negative network effects.
Yes, that's an important point. Not all network effects are positive.
Okay.
Sometimes as a network grows, it can actually become less valuable.
Like traffic congestion.
Exactly.
The more cars on the road, the slower everyone goes.
Yeah.
It's a pain we all experience.
Exactly. Or think about an overcrowded Wi-Fi network.
Yeah.
More users can lead to slower speeds, making the connection less valuable for everyone.
So it's not just about getting bigger.
Right.
It's about like managing that growth
Uh-huh.
in a way that benefits everyone.
Yeah.
It's like this delicate balance.
It is.
Speaking of delicate balances,
Yeah.
this Brace's paradox thing mentioned in the article seems kind of counterintuitive.
Okay.
It suggests that like sometimes adding more paths to a network can actually make things worse.
It is a bit mind-bending, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brace's paradox shows us how complex and sometimes unpredictable networks can be.
Yeah.
In some cases, adding capacity the wrong way can actually disrupt the flow
Yeah.
and efficiency of a network.
So it's not as simple as more is always better.
No.
You have to consider the structure and the design of the network itself.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit and talk about network effects in the digital age.
Yes. This is where network effects are just flourishing. Software and online platforms are basically built on them.
It's hard to imagine companies like eBay
Mm-hmm.
or Facebook
Right.
existing without network effects.
Yeah.
The more users they have, the more data they gather, the better their algorithms become,
Mm-hmm.
and the more attractive they are to advertisers.
Uh-huh.
It creates this incredible cycle of growth.
And it's not just about attracting users, it's
Yeah.
also about keeping them engaged.
Yeah.
Think of the freemium model, where companies offer a basic service for free to build a large user base
Okay.
and then leverage those network effects to encourage upgrades to like premium features.
It's like a snowball effect.
Yeah,
The bigger it gets, the faster it rolls, and the harder it becomes to stop.
exactly.
But what about examples of network effects that are maybe less obvious?
Mm.
The article mentioned credit cards, which seemed interesting.
Credit cards are a fascinating example because they benefit from both
Never
direct
did.
and indirect network effects. The more people use a particular credit card, the more appealing it becomes to merchants.
Right.
And as more merchants accept the card, it becomes more convenient for cardholders.
Yeah.
It's a powerful feedback loop that creates value for everyone involved.
It's like a hidden network effect that we don't even think about.
Yeah,
We just take for granted that we can use our credit cards almost anywhere.
exactly. It illustrates how deeply ingrained these network effects are.
Yeah.
In our economic systems, we encounter them every day without even realizing it.
This whole discussion has really opened my eyes to like these unseen forces shaping the products and services we use.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of understanding network effects.
Yeah.
It gives you this new lens to view the world through.
Totally.
It's a powerful concept that can help you make sense of everything from technological trends to social movements. It's like having this secret decoder ring for the complexities of modern life.
Yeah.
You start to see these patterns and connections, the underlying forces that are driving so much of what we experience.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And a little bit daunting, too, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if these network effects are so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean that we're all just at the mercy of these systems?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it really gets to the heart of why understanding network effects is so important.
Okay.
It's not about being powerless. It's about being informed.
So how can we, like as individuals, use this knowledge to our advantage?
Okay.
I mean, are there any like practical takeaways here?
Absolutely. For one thing, understanding network effects can help you make smarter decisions as a consumer.
Okay.
So when you're thinking about buying a new product or service,
Hmm.
ask yourself, what are the network effects at play here?
Hmm.
Is this product likely to reach critical mass? Or am I going to be stuck with a niche technology that becomes obsolete?
It's like future-proofing your purchases.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be the last person on that sinking ship.
Exactly. And it's not just about products. Think about social networks, professional platforms, even choosing a neighborhood to live in.
Right.
Network effects are everywhere, influencing our choices in these subtle but powerful ways.
So we can use this knowledge to make better decisions.
Yeah.
But what about on like a larger scale? How do network effects impact businesses and industries?
For businesses, understanding network effects is crucial for survival, let alone success in the digital age.
Yeah.
Companies that can effectively harness network effects have a massive advantage.
Yeah.
Think about how companies like Uber or Airbnb
Right.
disrupted entire industries by leveraging network effects to create platforms that connect users in new and innovative ways.
But isn't that risky too? I mean, what if you build a platform and nobody comes?
That's the challenge, and it's where strategy is so important.
Okay.
Companies need to be really smart about how they design their platforms, how they acquire early adopters,
Yeah.
and how they incentivize users to join and stay engaged. Reaching that critical mass
Right.
is often the difference between success and failure.
So it's not just about building a great product.
Right.
It's about building a thriving ecosystem.
Yeah, you need that network to really take off.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not just about growth for growth's sake.
Right.
Businesses need to think about how to manage network effects responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
Remember our discussion about negative network effects?
Yeah.
As a network grows,
Uh-huh.
it's crucial to make sure that the value proposition remains strong
Okay.
for all the participants.
That makes sense. You don't want to alienate your user base
Right.
by focusing solely on expansion.
No.
You need to keep that core value proposition in mind.
It's like tending a garden.
Mm.
You need to cultivate the right conditions for growth,
Uh-huh.
but you also need to prune and shape the network
Okay.
to ensure its long-term health and vitality.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of how the world works.
And that's the power of a good mental model, isn't it?
Yeah.
It helps us see the world in a new light, make better decisions, and navigate the complexities of modern life with a bit more clarity and confidence.
So as we wrap up,
Yeah.
what's like one final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Okay.
What's the key takeaway they should remember about network effects?
I'd say these network effects are everywhere. Once you start looking for them, you'll see them in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
And understanding them can be a powerful tool for personal growth, professional success, and making sense of the world around us.
Yeah, it's like you've given us this new pair of glasses to see the world with.
Yeah.
We've covered so much today.
Yeah.
Direct and indirect network effects, the importance of critical mass,
Yeah.
the potential downsides, even Brace's paradox.
Right.
It's amazing how, like, this one concept can touch so many different areas of our lives.
It really does speak to the interconnectedness of things. And it highlights how important it is to be a systems thinker. When you understand network effects, you start to see the world not as like a collection of isolated parts,
Okay.
but as this complex web of relationships and interdependencies.
You start to see the forest and the trees.
Exactly.
You get the big picture, but you also understand how the individual pieces all fit together. So for our listeners who are thinking, okay, this is all very interesting,
Yeah.
but what does it mean for me?
Right.
What's the practical takeaway?
Yeah, what can they do with this knowledge?
Yeah.
I would encourage them to start paying attention to network effects in their own lives.
Okay.
So like when you're making decisions, whether it's about what products to buy, what social networks to join, or even where to live, just ask yourself, how are network effects influencing my choices? What are the potential benefits and drawbacks?
So it's about becoming like more conscious consumers,
Exactly.
more strategic decision makers.
It's about taking control of these forces instead of just letting them happen to us.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing the power we have as individuals to shape these networks.
Yeah.
Every time we choose to join a platform, support a business, or connect with others,
Right.
we're contributing to the growth and evolution of these networks.
We are.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
I feel like I've gained this valuable new mental model
Uh-huh.
that I can apply to so many different aspects of my life.
It's been a pleasure talking about this with you.
Likewise.
And I hope our listeners will find this knowledge as empowering and thought-provoking as we have.
To our listeners, keep those mental gears turning, and we'll catch you on the next episode of The Mental Minute.